With Tron Ares coming out this week, I did a double feature of the two Tron movies to get prepared. I just watched them at home. I didn't have time to do any double feature screenings they were doing at the theaters this week. That would be the original 1982 film, and then the 28 years later sequel Tron Legacy, which released in 2010. Holy shit, does time fly. That was 15 years ago now. It's not exactly every day those movies are relevant for a rewatch, so I relished the chance to watch them again as it had been a while. Collectively, the concept of Tron and a lot of the ideas in those movies are well known and revered, despite what most people would think of the actual movies. Pretty much everyone I talked to in my age range was introduced to the Tron franchise in the same way I was, and that was through the 2006 video game Kingdom Hearts 2. Without boring y'all on all the details, it was one of many themed Disney worlds, aka levels, that you visit during the course of the story. It was a noteworthy and a bit of an odd inclusion, because pretty much all the other worlds in that game were based on acclaimed Disney animated films. In the case of Kingdom Hearts 2, a lot of the Disney levels came from movies in the 90s. My 11-year-old self didn't know what the Tron was. I thought it was like an original thing just for that game. But it was there I was introduced to the whole computer world concept of the original movie and some of the notable characters. A few years later, I checked out the original 1982 film, and over the last decade and a half, I've actually checked it out a few times, more often than not in the context of Kingdom Hearts 2. But the original film is noteworthy for the first film of its kind to have this level of extensive use of special effects. In Tron, computer programmer Kevin Flynn is transported into a digital world inside a computer, where he befriends a security program named TRON to fight for survival and return home. There's a bit more setup than that one-sentence synopsis. Kevin Flynn's video game idea was stolen by a fellow older programmer named Edward Dillinger, who used it to become the CEO of the computer corporation Encom. Flynn's attempt to find proof of the theft gets interrupted by a hostile overlord program known as the MCP, the Master Control Program, which is used by Edward Dillinger to run Encom in the real world. It's a world in a computer, just go with it. The movie certainly doesn't ask you to take anything all that seriously anyway. It's more of a comedic, easygoing kind of vibe than anything super serious. Flynn's played by Jeff Bridges, who portrays him as an easygoing jokester here, who just happens to be a computer super genius. The movie's called Tron, but Flynn is the obvious real protagonist. But I did like the actual computer programs you meet during the story. Of course, there's Tron himself, who's a renowned hero in the digital world of this film. Nothing heavy when it comes to character depth, but he's a likable dude, which is about all you can say for the character depth for anyone in this film, which is none basically. There ain't nothing deep for any character featured here. It's all just going along with the adventure in the computer world and see whatever happens. I think most of the movie's narrative or even some character shortcomings are because they had their hands full juggling a movie with this level of visual effects. In the context of a movie from 1982, it's all very impressive, the digital world they create here. In the context of watching in the modern day, I can vibe with the retro 80s aesthetic, and there's fun watching movies from another generation in this kind of way. The direction, score, and the dialogue, it just feels like kooky 80s fun. But you watch this movie and it's understandable why it even kind of got mixed reviews when it originally came out. And that's because visual effects can only get you so far when you don't have the other pieces in place to make a good movie. Whether that's story engagement, pacing, and even logic. Even some romance stuff that happens without any explanation. There's a kiss that happens towards the climax that had zero build-up towards it. And all you can think is, what the was that after it happens? And when the best you can say about any of the characters is that they were okay to follow, that's a problem. I think the best characters are the two antagonists. You got the MCP, which is the godlike overlord of this digital world. But I really liked his enforcer, Commander Sark, who's a prick-like officer who relishes his power. But his scenes and personality were fun enough though. But I wish all the elements came together to make a great movie, but they just don't here. With the way things play out here, you just ask, what the hell was that? Quality-wise, I do think in the modern context this is hell no worthy. But weighing it in a historical context, which you gotta do with some movies, And the fact that I can roll with the whole kooky 80s vibe of the movie, it's meh by that logic, but I'd recommend only checking it out if you're really interested in watching it. Because if you're watching it casually, you're kind of f***ed, as you'll essentially get nothing out of it. But props for the movie for paving the way with its visual effects, and for being one of the noteworthy live-action Disney films pre-Marvel or Star Wars. TRON. And then it came time to watch TRON Legacy, which I did watch in theaters when it came out, opening weekend on a Saturday, December 2010. There was a lot of massive hype for that movie going in. There was a thought back then it could reach James Cameron's Avatar level of success based on its visuals and use of 3D, and the fact that it came out a year after. That Avatar success didn't quite happen, not even close actually. In TRON Legacy, 2 decades after the first film, Sam Flynn, son of Kevin, journeys into the digital world of the Grid to find his missing father. The Grid is under a tyranny ruled by Clue 2, Flynn's program who seeks to create a perfect system. The movie has a pretty depressing setup, showing things didn't end so well for Kevin Flynn or Tron shortly after the original film. Flynn's been trapped in the Grid for 20 plus years, and Tron also disappears around this time. It's like the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Those happy endings don't stay happy for long. But I mostly did like the setup here, which is all the stuff you see in the real world. I liked Sam Flynn's opening heist sequence. That Daft Punk score is already in effect, and thankfully it doesn't take too long to get to the digital world action. Aesthetically, the modern world of the Grid just looks incredible. The lighting, glow effects, everything about it is just beautiful. Back when I saw this in theaters, all of that scenery was all the better to see it in 3D on the big screen. It's not just the visuals that get you hooked, but seeing those iconic Tron action scenes in the new age were just incredible. The disc battles are really cool, culminating in Sam's one-on-one fight with Rinzler, Clue's top henchman and enforcer. I've always found it a bit silly though that one hit from these discs or any kind of weapon in this world will just shatter you. But whatever, I don't make the rules. But the movie's peak is that light cycle challenge sequence, which is a gladiator motorcycle type challenge where your motorcycle, light cycle, emits a trail of light behind you to destroy your opponents. This is when the movie was just perfectly blending the action, visuals, and score. It's just an incredible sequence in its dynamics, and how it just flows beautifully from one section to another, with Legacy adding a few more tricks to the challenge compared to the first film. Could have watched another 10 plus minutes of this sequence. It was that good. Not good actually, it was that great. What wasn't great was how I thought the movie tails off quite a bit after this. It's tough because I did like Sam and his dad reuniting. It's definitely cool to see Jeff Bridges back in the role all the years later. But it's a lot of exposition heavy dialogue that just drags the movie down. And it's a bunch of story concepts that aren't exactly original to this movie. Story-wise, the second half of this movie just isn't very strong, can feel a bit slow, leading to some pacing issues. Although for how slow the movie got at points, I definitely didn't mind looking at Olivia Wilde as the computer program Cora. She was fine as f***. If being trapped in a digital world meant you got to be with her for 2 decades, then sign me up. Anyway. But she was very likable in the movie. There was a nice innocence to her and her discovering the ways of the users, and the scenes where Sam was telling her about his world. Besides Cora, the other major program character is the film's antagonist, Clue 2. It's the classic AI story with Clue, where creating a perfect world means destroying the current one in a hostile takeover fashion. As an antagonist though, he's solid. Definitely has his share of cold-blooded moments. The most noteworthy thing with him here is the effects used to make him look like Jeff Bridges from the 80s, as in a lot younger. This is one of the first films to use this whole de-aging technology as extensively as it does. The tech is far from perfect. In fact, that opening shot of a young Flynn at the house I thought looked f***ing terrible, looked like something from the Polar Express. But consistently in the film, I thought the de-aging effects were decent, especially in the context of a decade and a half ago. You get plenty of Clue, but unfortunately not a lot of Tron himself. The movie's called TRON, but he's basically in a cameo role. Somewhat. There is a plot twist with him, which even though it's been 15 f***ing years since the movie came out, I won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen the movie yet. But it does feel half-assed and just feels like it was a way for them to get around doing a bunch of de-aging effects for the original actor, Bruce Boxleitner, who thankfully you do get to see in the real world here as the programmer Alan Bradley from the first film. But Tron is just Tron in normal fashion for just a flashback scene here, unfortunately. But the thing that I would say almost single-handedly gives the film its cult status is the score from Daft Punk. It's just the perfect techno-cool vibes that just elevate the wow factor of the world and are just great tunes to listen to. My favorite of which is when the end-of-line club music kicks in. Holy shit, is that good. For the ups and downs of the second half of the movie, I did enjoy the ending. The final action chase sequence is really good, and I liked the way how things culminated in the climax and the final confrontation. The actual ending sequence, the film's last minute here, was beautiful, nicely paying off one of the movie's best non-action scenes from earlier in the film. Tron Legacy unfortunately does not fully realize its potential in living up to the things that keep you hooked during the movie. Pretty much all the major flaws are in the second half of the film, or at least after the initial grid action sequences. Some of the pacing, storytelling, and plot leaves a lot to be desired. When you get to Clue's ultimate plan, it just kind of feels like a big nothing burger. But the movie's good points are incredible. Love the set pieces, the movie looks great, and that score is godly. And the characters, while not great, were likable, which is what you need to follow in on an adventure. It's enough to sneak Tron Legacy just out of that meh territory to where I can say I liked it, but it's holding on for dear life because just barely I liked it. Looking back, I found myself oddly being most annoyed by this film when it came out in theaters when I was just 15 years old, mind you. But I always do enjoy watching this film at home, as there's just a relaxing vibe to it for the eyes and ears. Here's hoping for the best for Tron Ares when it comes out this week. Visually it looks great, the whole red aesthetic is very nice. But like all films, quality-wise, it could go either way. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. So that'll do it for this double feature review of Tron and Tron Legacy. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.